for full attendance. You will be expected to be on camera, but you got a couple more moments. We'll get started in just a second. So hopefully you all can see my screen okay. And again, the book is available for you on Cengage, so please avail yourself to that as soon as you possibly can. As always, the lectures being recorded, and you'll be able to see it. Hopefully, you all got the link to the YouTube channel for this class that you can avail yourself to throughout the semester. Although, as always, you're encouraged to attend class in real time, because I think that the lectures will help you. Even though they're being recorded, I do encourage you to take notes in real time. Don't try and again write all of this down word for word, abbreviate, but I'll give you a couple of moments to get this down, and then I'll dig deeply into the lecture. Latasia, whenever you see something written in italics, that's something that you definitely want to give a lot of attention to. Oftentimes, Savannah, I'll be asked, are you going to do a study guide? I will not do a study guide. However, these italicized terms will allow you, Nigeria, to begin making your own study guide and really getting a sense of the important concepts and terms that will help you understand the material. Now, that being said, Nigeria, do not just try and memorize definitions in here. Don't just try and memorize definitions. Again, most of you all want to go work in criminal justice, so I don't just want you memorizing stuff. I want you to have true understanding. So take this in, make sure you're absorbing what you write down, and then we'll unpack these concepts today and throughout the course of the week.
Good afternoon, Dr. Muhammad.
Say it again, sir.
I said good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Doing fine.
And again, make sure that you all back this up with reading. A lot of times students will only try and rely on my notes in spite of me being here and years and years of cautioning students against doing this. They avoid doing this. They try and avoid this strategy. And like I said, for this class, if you look through your syllabus, the reading is really spread out where you don't have to overload yourself. You can do a little bit at a time, but just do a little bit every day. You know, do not get into this pattern of trying to taking like a month or two off and then trying to play catch up. That's akin to neglecting your health for 40, 50 years, and all of a sudden now, just before your leg gets amputated, you want to try and get healthy. Not managing your money well through your 20s and 30s. Then you're surprised when it's time to purchase a home in your 40s and you're not able to do that as well. So form good habits every day in every circumstance. And the big problems usually take care of themselves. And again, you all are criminal justice majors, so my hope is that this is important to you. And quite frankly, even if you're not a criminal justice major, criminal justice is very important to Black people in America, especially for your age group. Unfortunately, odds are almost everybody on this call has somebody that's either institutionalized or has been. My nephew is actually getting his prison sentence today, Savannah. We hope it's as short as possible. We're not horribly optimistic. But whatever the case, these are still people, and oftentimes, they're treated as if they're invisible. But we want to be mindful of the purpose of incarcerating these folks, because our tax dollars go to funding Malik. And what type of, I think it was Savannah who talked about last time that an initial goal was rehabilitation and reforming these inmates. To what extent are we doing that? If they're going, much like Malik, if you pay, $80,000 and you leave Allen in the same way that you came in or worse, that would be a very bad use of resources, correct? We use way more money than that, Malik, to keep people incarcerated each year. Do your own research, but it's the truth. For that kind of money, we better be getting some for it, right? A lot of times we do not. And we want to look at why that is. So our first goal in this chapter, Savannah, we want to define corrections and the role it has in the criminal justice system. We want to identify the early historical developments and justifications for the use of punishment and corrections. So the first couple of chapters are going to be very much focused in Jarvis on, hundreds of our first systems of punishment in America and in the Western world. In principal sociology, you may recall that we talked about the Enlightenment. So we'll discuss that briefly here in this chapter. And as always in Jarvis, when you see something in italics, definitely really study that closely. It's okay if you don't know all these concepts today, Latasia, but the purpose of me going over them with you and highlighting them in this way is to bring to your attention that you do need to know them in hopes that you'll take the time to do so. We want to be able to discuss the development of punishment. We're going to describe the changes to the prison system brought on by the age of the reformatory. So that word, again, I think, again, it was Savannah who talked about that one of the goals of prison, incarcerating folks, was to reform them. So you see there that age of reformatory. We'll speak about that aim in great detail. But there were other errors in the prison system. The age of the reformatory was one, but there were others as well. We want to look at the differences between state and federal prisons, identify the top three in terms of American corrections. What this speaks to, Malik, is the top three most populated prison systems. And then finally, we want to explain patterns in 20th and 21st century corrections. Let's dig into this a little bit more now. Are there any questions or comments before I do?
No,
So
sir.
we begin looking at young Dylann Roof here with this Confederate flag here on display. And to be clear, like Latasia, like I am not going to test you on your knowledge of a despicable soft punk ass scumbag like Dylann Roof. You're not going to be tested on knowing anything about him. But the author introduces certain anecdotes with each chapter, Malik, to kind of like help us understand wider concepts that you will be tested on. So you don't need to take notes on this. You can if you want to, but it's not testable. I will say that for sure. But whether you are from the South Carolina area or not, which I am not, but even before I came here, this happened just before I came to Allen. And it left quite an impression upon me, especially like, quite frankly, like they end up getting him near Charlotte. And I was actually traveling like, on those same roads that morning. So like later when it all the news reports came out, I was like, damn. Of course, we know Dylann Roof is being the murderer of the victims and Mother Emanuel, including our very own Clemenza Pinckney. We know the details of his case, including that, while most mass murderers, they will go in and just shoot people randomly that they don't know and haven't done anything to them. But Roof was different. He mingled for an hour. This is important. There were 9 folks murdered. He was charged with 9 counts of murder, 1 count of weapons possession, and 3 counts of attempted murder. Mr. Roof was sentenced to death. And again, one of the reasons, right? So one of the things I talked about in terms of like him mentioning that, me mentioning that he mingled with the parishioners for an hour before he took out his weapon and needlessly took their lives, is that when we talk about, again, like prison incarceration, one of the things that we want to think about is a person's mindset in determining, like, their sentence. So it's one thing, like, again, hopefully this doesn't occur with any of us, but you all do understand that any human being that has air in their lungs is capable of being a murderer, right? You understand that, correct? That even the nicest, most peaceful people, that there is something that they may kill over. Now, they may not go murder nobody that they don't know, but let somebody try to attack your mama, Savannah. How might that end up? You may not be intending to do that. What if, again, like, somebody, again, if you're a parent and somebody's trying to attack your child? Well, and many of us have had a moment of rage where we may, like, spaz out. Like, so if you've ever seen, like, something like, anybody ever seen the film He Got Game with Denzel Washington and Ray Allen, who at one point
Yes,
I
sir.
thought was the greatest three-point shooter I would ever see. But then Steph Curry came in the league. But has anybody seen He Got Game?
Yes, sir. I have.
Say it again, Aaron Jarvis.
I have.
Denzel's character, what was he in prison for?
The murder of his wife.
Say it again.
The murder of his wife.
Was he trying to murder her?
No, sir.
Good. So he wasn't trying to. He went to jail anyway. That's how the system goes. But we sentence you differently, Aaron Jarvis, if you're trying to and if you're not. So this Dylan Roof, right? He was somebody like, so again, like in a moment of notice, you a big strong dude, Aaron Jarvis. You could push somebody as flimsy like me, like, dude, get up out of here, Muhammad. And I accidentally hit my head and like, damn, I was just trying to push him. But you're so strong, Aaron Jarvis, that I died in the process. You will go to prison. But you will not usually get as long of a prison sentence as somebody like Dylan Roof that thought out and planned his murder. And he knew when he woke up that morning, he was going to kill somebody. That's very different than the scenario I described. You was just trying to chill. Dr. Muhammad started talking all crazy. You tried to get him up off you, and the next thing you know, you in cuffs. You're like, what the hell just happened? But Dylan Roof, he says, I have no choice. I'm not in a position to go into the ghetto and fight because I'm a punk ass bitch, and I know if I go to the black neighborhoods, they're gonna fuck me up real bad. I chose Charleston because it's the most historic city in my state, and at one time had the highest ratio of blacks to whites in the country. We have no real skinheads, no real KKK, no one doing anything but talking on the internet. Well, somehow, someone has to have the bravery to take it to the real world, and I guess it has to be me. So again, he thought this through. This is his comments on the internet before this happened. So our prison system and our correction system, this is important for what we're going to talk about later, right? Because in some countries, then Jarvis, if you murder somebody, they treat you all the same. If you steal something, you get treated all the same. You either steal or you don't. Do y'all think that that's how it should be? Why or why not? Should all crimes be treated the same?
No.
You may need to unmute yourself.
No, sir.
Why not, Aaron Jarvis?
I see it as most times people commit crimes because they might not. I see it as okay, somebody that's uh a diabetic or something that might need medicine or anything. They might steal, or a family member might try to steal the medicine to help out their family member. And other people like, well, they trying to rob us. They trying to rob us, not knowing why they're trying, to steal this medicine, anything, versus somebody that's sorry that don't want to work a day in their life, want to go rob a bank just to get a couple of dollars.
Okay, good. So if I have a really good reason for committing my crime, I shouldn't be punished as harshly, correct?
Yes, sir.
And I want y'all to
As
think
I
about some
believe,
problems with that, because I just drowned all my children in this lake. I had a good reason though. I wasn't really in my right mind for a few hours. Don't put me in jail. That's all good, right?
No, that does not sound good.
Well,
This does not sound good.
I had a good reason.
You can't just go out drowning kids for no reason.
But so I can go, but if I'm diabetic, I can go steal my money. I can go steal my my products or goods. That's okay.
No, that's not okay either. I'll just speak on my opinion of it.
By all means, please.
Okay, so we're gonna say Tommy killed one of your family members, right? And of course, the initiative will be to retaliate and do it, right? I understand you know your rights, you know your wrongs of why you did it, and you're gonna get the consequences. That's different than little Tommy going to the store and he's like, "Oh, I want this, and mommy said no, and then he just happened to grab it and he took it, and he punished as long as someone who just got killed."
Absolutely. Good. And then Jarvis, you're not wrong with your response, nor you, Savannah. Like, I make light of it, but I challenge y'all to really think about these things, because these are something like, again, my hope is that one day soon, y'all and people that look like y'all are going to be running the criminal justice system. And it's really important that you understand the purpose of these processes. So in this way, like a judge, and keep these discussions in mind. I'm not asking y'all this just for fun and games. We're going to revisit the logic of this discussion many times throughout the course. What you talked about there, Savannah, is the role that judges have historically played in America. So in our criminal justice system, we got police officers, we got prosecutors and defense attorneys, we have judges, we have corrections officers. So the job of a judge in our society through most of American history has been able to look at each individual case, Savannah, like, okay, this person stole, this person stole, this person murdered, this person murdered. All these people are probably going to go to jail. But I need to think about the circumstance behind them committing this crime in terms of what type of judgment I'm going to administer. So in this way, right, the judgment was to give Dylann Roof the death penalty. Why do you all believe that this is justified? And look, it's an emotional topic, particularly because he had murdered people that look like us in a really heinous way. As best you can, try and remove the emotion from it as best you can. Should he have gotten a death penalty? Why not? Or what's the justification behind it? What's the rationale behind giving him the death penalty? How would you defend this? No wrong answer.
You said how would we defend it if we was his lawyer?
No, like, so if you're the prosecutor,
right,
and you say that he should get the death penalty,
right,
why should he? Why do you? What would be your justification? What would be your rationale for giving him the death penalty? Then I come back to the defense attorney in a moment. But why would the prosecutor? Everybody, put your prosecutor hat on and tell me what would be the rationale for sentencing Dylann Roof to death. No wrong answers, but tell me your thought process.
Okay. In the chapter 1 reading, it did mention that, how everyone in Charleston knows the Emmanuel Church is, like, the most widely known church, in the city. So, him going there was like how can I put this? Basically, like, him going to a well-known church, like a church on the corner from him, made it like intentional. Like, he really planned to go in there and kill whoever.
Okay.
Like,
Okay. Good. So if you plan out your killing, you should get the death penalty. Good. Other thoughts? What would be the rationale for giving him the death penalty? Conversely then, what might be a rationale, and if anybody thinks of any other rationales, what would be a rationale for giving him another sentence? There are many different sentences that we can give him. We could give him a fine. Like, look, we're going to fine you $500. Just don't murder anybody anymore, and you'd be all good. Obviously, we would not give him that sentence, but there are many different sentences we can give. So the same way, right, when you get a ticket, the police officer ain't got to do that, Malik. They can take you to jail for a speeding ticket. They can do that.
Well, if it was the lawyer, they're gonna say that it violates the 8th Amendment.
Say it again.
I said if the lawyer might say it violates the Eighth Amendment. You know, it's cruel and and harsh punishment, so they might not want to do it.
Hey, 2 extra credit points for that one, dog. That's really good. Good. We're gonna come back to the. Hey, Malik, that is so really fucking good, man. We're gonna come back to that later on. Let me mark your points down right now. Exactly. And this is the kind of things that I'm looking for. That as a defense attorney, yeah, you're gonna be scrolling through that Constitution, man, and trying to find out. Look, it's looking pretty shaky for you, dog. I ain't even gonna front. But let me go through the Constitution a little bit. I'm gonna see if I can find some loophole. And that's defense attorneys. That's what they be doing. Like, look, I know Ann Jarvis definitely did it, but according to the 15th Amendment, dog, y'all gotta let him go. Y'all didn't even read Ann Jarvis's rights, man. That ain't cool. Y'all gotta let him go. So all those kind of y'all have probably taken criminal law and procedure, right? That criminal procedure makes it where it be all types of people that be guilty of sin, Savannah, but police be doing sloppy work sometimes, and because they haven't followed constitutional procedures, somebody may have to get let go. And where it may fall apart, and a lot of times it's lawyers' jobs to exploit that. So good that it can be argued and has been argued, Malik, absolutely, that's cruel and unusual punishment. Other thoughts about the rationale behind punishing Dylan Roof? Any other thoughts in terms of how we should punish him, and basically what are we trying to accomplish in punishing him? What are we trying to accomplish in punishing him?
Again, like from the what I read in chapter 1 about how over time the government has put added positions and put stricter laws, and if you do this, they step by adding harsher punishments, so down the line people will be less hesitant to do it.
Okay, good. So what you described there is deterrence. Write this down, everybody. Deterrence. I'm gonna give you one more for that one, Malik. You're on the road, man. Don't be getting cocky on me, Malik, and think you did something. Then you come in here Wednesday, you be on some BS, dog. This is the Malik I need to see every day. Maybe take one day a month where you're not fully on point. And y'all gonna match Malik's energy going forward, right? Y'all not gonna let him get all these extra credit points throughout the semester.
No, we ain't gonna let him get all those points.
And I promise you, I will give y'all many opportunities. Deterrent. Very good, Malik. That one of our major goals, the same way, right? Anybody got any older siblings?
I do.
One of the more effective ways, like when your parent was punishing or even giving one of your older siblings a whooping, a lot of times that wasn't just for them. They was showing that to all the children. Savannah, you want to think about violating that curfew, Savannah? Let me show you what happens to people that violate their curfew. Come on up in here.
I see some things growing out.
Right. All right, Malik, you want to talk back? All right, Malik, when you get this age, if you think you want to talk back, let me show you what happens with people that talk back in this family. So a lot of that is to deter you. Your parents aren't punishing you to harm you because they don't love you. They're trying to deter some bad habits or bad behavior that you may be exhibiting in Jarvis. It might hurt you later on. That violating that curfew, Savannah, again, as a young Black girl, things can happen. You could get hurt. I ain't trying to hurt you, but I got to punish you to change your habits so that you can do these things normally and follow the rules of the household without me having to punish you. But sometimes we got to punish and make an example out of somebody else so everybody else see this is not something that you want to do. So you're absolutely right there. One of the rationales behind the death penalty and almost any punishment, Malik, is so that other people can see. I gave the ticket example, right? We've all been driving somewhere and be speeding. We up here you up here listening to Drake, Kendrick, or Cardi B or something, and you in a zone. You ain't paying attention to nothing. Somebody else on the side of the road with that police officer, and that deters us. Oh, damn, okay, all right, my bad. Woo, I didn't even know I was driving 90. All right, let me be cool. There have been times, again, because keep in mind the punishment can come in any form. The police officer can pull you over. There have been times, Savannah, where a police officer has called me. One time I was when I was in grad school, I was zooming down from Champaign, where I went to school at, and a police officer came out of nowhere, But he didn't stop me. He just pulled over next to me. He just wagged his finger. Like, look, I'm too busy to pull you over right now, but hey, I saw you, dog. And I just kind of threw my hand. I was like, you're right. You're right, man. My bad. And I was like, thanks for not giving me that ticket, man, because if you would have had me, it would have been nothing I could have said. You know, so sometimes, hopefully, y'all have probably been given a warning. Hey, look, and Jarvis, I'm not going to ruin your night tonight, but like, you can't keep doing this, man. You know, so keep this in mind. The goal of punishment, what are we trying to accomplish? Because, like, giving the parent example again, Malik, that if you're just punishing your child and you're not really thinking about what's the rationale behind that, that's where you get into abuse. And people abuse this system in many ways as well. And that's the type of criminal justice professional I do not want you to be, where you're doing certain things as a police officer and Jarvis, not because it's serving some wider social goal, but just because you got the power to do it. So the same way as parent, as your professor, there are certain rules that I'm going to enforce. But it's really important to me, Savannah, that y'all always understand the reason why. Like I don't want y'all, because it's important. As young Black people, you can never be the type where you just follow rules because people told you to follow rules. Y'all understand that, right? You got to understand why. So if we're telling you that you should, that we're gonna like punish you if you drink alcohol before you before the age of 18. I'm sorry, before the age of 21. You need to understand the rationale for that. If we're gonna tell you that you can't possess a firearm in New York City, you need to understand the reason for that. If we're gonna tell you that you can't have that you can't smoke marijuana, you need to understand the reason for that. So the death penalty in America, and again, I apologize for going too deep into that, but this is important, and we'll come into this in more detail. It's a broken process, Malik, from start to finish. Death sentences are predicated not by the heinousness of the crime, but by the poor quality of the defense lawyers, the race of the accused or the victim, and the county and state in which the crime occurred. Time and time again, we have proven that the criminal justice system fails to protect the innocent and persons with serious mental disabilities and illnesses from execution. Even the administration of executions is utterly flawed. Every method of execution comes with an intolerably high risk of extreme pain and torture, or what you may call, Malik, extreme and unusual punishment. So what the ACLU is saying here, right, and this is a group of lawyers that their whole job is to protect the rights of, like, make sure that everyday common people, particularly Black and Jewish people, don't get their civil rights violated. And what they say here, right, so we talk about doing your own research all the time, Malik, and we looked at correlations. So one of the things that we found in America is that, you know, many states have had moratoriums on the death penalty, but when they've had the death penalty, do you think that everybody that committed murders got the death penalty at the same rate? No. You are much more likely to get the death penalty. Do your own research. I could be making this up. You're much more likely to get the death penalty if you're Black, and if you're Black and poor, and if you're Black and poor and undereducated. This point here, what they say about the defense lawyers. If you O.J. Simpson and you Snoop Dogg and you're on trial for murder, Savannah, even if you're Black, it is very different from Kareem Muhammad being on trial for murder. And it's very different from, like, you know, like Ray Ray in the Hood being on trial for murder. I'm probably going to have some decent lawyers. Snoop and OJ, they're going to have the best lawyers you can possibly find. Your average dude in the hood, they're going to get, like, you know, any public defender that they, you know, they can find, like the C students in law school and stuff. So a lot of times, and then since these people are not making that much money, do you think that there's going to be a lot of invested in them trying to, like, clear this person's innocence? Now, again, the type of money that Johnny Cochran was making for defending Snoop and OJ, like I said, like, you know, they're going through that Constitution, Malik, to try and find a reason to get their client off. When you pay somebody like that, they are going out of their way. I mean, they're not sleeping until they can find a way to get you off. That's a very different. So in this way, a lot of times, in Jarvis, whether or not you get the death penalty is tied to your race and how much money you get. So that's a death penalty. Do y'all think that other sentences and other crimes are impacted by how much money you have as a criminal defendant and your race? Do y'all think this ties into other crimes, or is it just murder?
I believe other crimes too.
Absolutely. Keep this in mind as we go through this, right? There are many times where people do the exact same crime, Savannah. How much money they got in their race depends, like, has a huge impact upon how long they spend in jail. Do your own research. Don't take my word for this stuff, Nigeria. So as we get into the testable terms, corrections. Look at the root word in Jarvis. Correct, correct, correct. What do y'all think we're trying to correct?
The behavior of the person, so they won't
Yep.
do it again.
Absolutely. We're trying to correct the criminal behavior. They've done something to break the law. And we think oftentimes, Malik, of good people and bad people. No. And people that broke the law. Almost every American has broken the law. I've broken some laws before. How about y'all? You ain't got to answer. Y'all don't take. But my sense is whether that law be speeding, shoplifting, underage drinking, public intoxication, public indecency. Hope y'all ain't been out here, walking around all with your ass and stuff all out. Some of y'all done probably assaulted some people. Like, I know you didn't have to probably put your hands on some folks, so don't be up here trying to front. Like, once y'all get, like, y'all need to understand, like, once you get grown, like when you're not a teenager, you ain't just fight. That is assault. You can go to jail. Be careful. It got to be worth it. But whatever the case, most human beings have gone to prison before, or done something, broken the law. The corrections process is supposed to be where, again, some people where you may reform your behavior, Malik, if your mama give you a stern look, that might be enough. For other people, it might be like the disappointment in your father's voice. For some, you just, being put on punishment might have just been such an inconvenience. I've never been in prison. I have been in jail before. And those few hours and stuff was just like, man, when are these motherfuckers finna come get me? Please get me up out of this joint. So that was enough. Just those few little hours, man, was enough. I'm like, oh, hell no, I am not fit for nobody's prison or penitentiary. That cannot be the kid. But for some individuals, unfortunately, they're not able to learn these lessons quite as swiftly. So initially, we put them into correctional facilities, as Savannah said, with the belief that, again, keep in mind, this is a social science class. So in social science, we believe that people can be socialized and be exposed to different environments, and that can impact their behavior. So it was initially believed that we could subject them to some institutionalization, but we could correct their behavior and they could be fully functioning adults like the rest of us. The correction system, again, is a system where you have professionalized personnel. That word there, Malik, is important. Professionalized personnel. That you can't just put any person off the street and have them work with, like, criminal offenders. That the knowledge and skill sets that you all are developing here in Jarvis are going to allow you to do this work in a way that's different from, like, most of the rank and file population. Because one of the things that you need to, is we'll talk about, it ain't just, before it may have been believed that you just got to, like, be physically imposing enough to control the prisoners. There's a lot more than that now, Malik. You got to have some understanding of social work, of human psychology. You got to have some public health knowledge. And the more knowledge that you bring to the table, Malik, that's, again, why it's so dope. And you wanted to, like, have a minor and a major. We talked about this before. The more that you know and the more that you show, the more money you can make. And then ideally, the more people that you can help. That if you understand human behavior, Savannah, you can, and you're working in a prison, you can help better reform that person than somebody that just, okay, let's just control these prisoners and keep them out of the way. So I want you to be professionals. I'm not usually, now I will have y'all do this. Break out a blank sheet of paper real quick. Break out a blank sheet of paper. We're going to open this up for discussion. I'm going to give y'all a hint. Malik gave you one answer, but that's not the only answer, Malik. What is the purpose of punishment in general? Not prison, punishment. If you're punished by your teacher, if you're punished by a warden, if you're punished by a judge, if you're punished by your parent, if you're punished at your place of employment, what is the general purpose of punishment? Following that, and Jarvis, I want you to think long and hard. And some of y'all probably ain't gonna have to think too hard on this. Think about a time, Malik, when you were punished. Describe it in detail. And tell me the purpose that so you're going to tell me your purpose of punishment. Then I want you to tell me about a time that you were punished and if it accomplished that purpose that you spoke to. And then I want you to think of another time, Nigeria, where you were punished and it did not accomplish that purpose. Tell me a time where you were punished and it really, like I said, I was stealing CDs, and Jarvis, don't judge me. We had been stealing CDs all semester, Malik. This record store, my boy told me to lick. So we would, every time some new stuff would drop, we would go hit them up. Biggie, Pop, Naughty by Nature, it's Craig Mack, it's Redman, Method Man. Yeah, we was getting it all, dog. Mary J. Blige for the late nights. Eventually, we got caught. I got caught. Let me rephrase. I got caught. I was a changed man after that. They would try to deter me from coming to hit their store up again. It worked. My boys used to hit them up too. They saw me get caught. They stopped as well, and Jarvis. There have been other times where I was punished and it did not have that same effect. I took the punishment and I became a lot more effective, Savannah, in not getting caught. Take a couple of moments and tell me an experience of yours, and we'll open up the dialogue. I in particular want to hear from some people that I have not heard from as often in our class so far.
You want us to a purpose of punishment and then a story that's it?
Yeah, a story when the punishment was successful in reforming your behavior, and another time when it wasn't. I kind of gave y'all a hint too.
And another time when it wasn't.
Yes.
Okay.
When you was punished and you did not learn your lesson. Your girl caught you cheating. She confronted you about it. And the trifling dude that you are, Malik, you kept on cheating anyway.
Dang, I'm not trifling.
It's like, you know what? Let me just not cheat with her cousin next time. That was my mistake.
Let me go ahead and say my. Can I go ahead and say my purpose?
Give me a couple of moments. And we'll open it up to dialogue for everybody.
Alrighty.
Nigerian Latasha, get ready. If you're still writing your response, go ahead and finish up and continue writing. Save these, save these, save these. Again, you're not going to submit these to me, but we use these as a teaching tool for you all that will help you understand these concepts. Education, I believe, is always best when it's kind of personalized. So you may not remember all these abstract terms and concepts, but you can remember some of the things that happened to you and that you experienced. So I want you all to use this as a tool to help you understand some of the things we'll talk about as we go through this chapter. So let's start off with what is the purpose of punishment? Whenever people administer punishment, you all have probably punished somebody before. What is the purpose of it?
Okay, so the purpose of punishment is not only to teach us a lesson, but to prep us for the public. Like certain things you do you can't do in public. So you always get at home and get in trouble, so that you go in public. We all have the same social morals when it comes to punishment.
Good. So actually, Malik, that so what you're speaking about is like we have to have some agreed upon social norms. You got all these different people in society with different interests. For us to be able to exist, we got to have some kind of order and rules. So generally, yes, the purpose of punishment is to try and make it where you can normalize those orders and rules without anybody having to tell you do this, do this, do this, do that. Again, most people aren't punished for jaywalking, but if we allow people to jaywalk just freely, then it would cause all sorts of chaos and mayhem. More people would be getting hit by cars and the like. Any other ideas? What were some other things that people wrote in terms of the purpose of punishment? Any other things that what were some other things that you wrote down in terms of the purpose of punishment? Nigeria, what did you write? The purpose of punishment. Latasha, do you want to chime in at all? The purpose of punishment. The purpose of punishment.
I wrote down that this is what can happen when you did it this time, but next time it might not be the same. Like, just because I gave you this punishment this time don't mean next time when you go out there and do the same thing that I'm gonna punish you the same way.
Absolutely. It's good there. Because it kind of speaks to that punishment is kind of staggered, but what that response speaks to is what you're going to accomplish more than what, again, more like the strategy more than what the goal is of the punishment. Again, that if you're going to punish somebody, like if you have to hit somebody, if you have to, if you're a boss and you have to cut somebody's pay, ideally, you're not only doing those things to harm them. There's some goal that you should be trying to accomplish. Perhaps your examples will give us some more clarity to this. So tell me about a time when you specifically have been punished and what was accomplished, or what's the goal that was the goal that you described in your definition. Was that accomplished when, how was that accomplished in this particular example? A time where punishment accomplishes purpose. Anybody?
When I was younger, I snuck out of a three-story window and I fell through my mom's car. And my mom went and took me to the hospital. And the lesson was, if you're gonna do dumb stuff, you're gonna feel the wrath. So for the whole week, I was at home laying in bed in pain.
Sure. Now that's more karma. I'm talking about so when punishment, when did somebody do something or deprive you from do something to you or deprive you from something? So that's just your own, the universe teach you a lesson, and that does happen too. And that should be they say that experience is the best teacher. Ideally, our own experiences punish us enough. But what I'm describing is somebody else punished you. Do y'all need a couple more minutes on that?
In meaning, could be school teacher or coach or something.
Yeah,
For
absolutely.
example.
Yes, the examples I gave: school teachers, clergymen, parents, coaches,
I have,
employers.
well, I got a story when I was in the fourth or fifth grade. I had this school teacher that had my mother while she was in school, and at that time I was young. I had the attitude of as my mother when I was younger, and me and this teacher didn't see eye to eye. So one day we was outside about to go to recess, and I wasn't feeling good that day. So she was like, "Come on, come outside with everybody." I'm like, "No, I'm not coming. I'm staying here." So, and it's at that time where the principal of the school had this paddle in his office. It can still, give out spankings. So me be the badass, went to go see the principal and got my butt toe up, not once, but two more times that same day, because my grandmama got me when she got off work, and my granddad got me when he got home. So he's like, you know what? Next time, I'm just keeping my clothes and go outside.
Good. So that definitely accomplished his goal. The goal was, and what do you think was their goal there? Was it just to get you to to go outside?
Oh, teach me a lesson, not to talk back to my elders.
Yes. Good. Good. That's a lesson more than anything else. And then if there may be a way to do like, I'm not feeling that well. I'm like, I ain't going. Fuck your recess. Other examples when you've experienced punishment and it accomplished a purpose. Somebody else punished you, and much like young Malik, it accomplished a purpose where his behavior was different after he caught those not one, but three ass whoopings.
I'll say the experience for me that I recently gone through. Not making the grades for school and dropping classes. I had to sit out a year to get myself together to come back to school.
Good example. And from what I saw of those grades, last fall, there definitely seemed to be a change in behavior and habits. So yeah, that's a good. And again, that's the whole purpose of it. Where it's like, look, because in many ways, it's the government, and even not to get too deep into it, it's not even a full Allen decision. But the purpose of that is twofold. Again, where if you're not, because more times than not, it's not that people aren't doing well because they're not intelligent enough. I know that's definitely not the case with you. Like, it just be other things that are going on. But it's like, if you're not able to give school your all, you're going to end up putting yourself in a whole bunch of unnecessary debt. And that will be a worse punishment. So it's like, look, we want to remove this from you right now. But the hope is not to try and ruin your life, because you can come back, but to make it where you can, to understand that, look, these habits that you're doing right here, right now, these are not going to be good for you to carry on. So whether it be that situation or Malik talking back to like authority figures, that can lead to negative consequences if that happens when your parents and grandparents aren't around and they're not able to articulate things for you and advocate for you. Good examples. How about a time, where you were punished and it didn't really accomplish a goal? Where maybe you did not learn a lesson or you continued on the same habits? How about a time you were punished and maybe y'all were really good kids where every single time y'all were punished, y'all learned a lesson the first time. That's really dope.
I say this punishment, still to this day, I still don't understand why I got in school suspension. It was in high school. So the teacher that I had, she always would take her a quick little nap in the classroom. And I got mad and I was like, instead of you taking a nap, how about you get up and teach us something? And I got in school suspension.
Right. Good. Really good example. So in that way, right, and again, like young little Malik learned, there might be a better way to communicate that to people in authority. But from the way that you described the story, they probably punished you more because they was mad about what you said than trying to change any kind of habits or behavior. And in my view, that's not the right way. So again, a police officer, if I see that you have broken the law, I should punish you off of that. I shouldn't punish you because I don't like the way you said something to me. Like, that's not how the law is supposed to work. And we want to think about, what are we accomplishing with that? Are we trying to accomplish making Black people docile in the face of the police? Or are we really trying to eliminate crime? Any other thoughts on either one of these questions? Any of these questions before we move on? Any other thoughts or anything else that anybody else want to add as it relates to these particular questions? So good. Again, keep these questions close by. I'm not going to test you on this. This is for a broader purpose as we begin to get into the testable material that speaks to how our laws and our early system of corrections and punishment, what was the rationale behind them? So the most early recorded, some of the most earliest recorded human laws, Malik, include the Code of Hammurabi. The Code of Hammurabi. As always, when you see something written in italics, that's something that you want to pay close attention to. If you don't have this all the way down by Wednesday, Latasha, I'm not going to be too disappointed about it. But do expect, I may ask you about this or bring it up next Monday or sometime in early February. I need y'all to have a reference point for what I'm talking about when I bring this back up, okay?
Wait,
Because
you said what,
I'm sorry, go ahead, Malik.
you asked us what was the what did you ask?
No, I didn't ask anything yet. But I'm saying I will ask us, I will probably ask you what this is in weeks to come, and I expect y'all to be able to tell me. Based upon this conversation here, which we might need to follow a little bit more closely.
Okay. I mean, I read something, but I don't know if it's related to that. Like, it was talking about how earlier, I don't know if it was, I think it was in Europe, but how, like, you know, the earlier form of punishment, it was nothing about like torture, hanging, and stuff like that.
Absolutely, absolutely. We gonna come to that in a moment. That and what this speaks to. So, what informs? What's the document that informs how we're supposed to perform our laws in this country? What is a document that kind of governs how we're supposed to, kind of the root of all our laws in this country? Don't overthink it. What's the document? Please don't hurt my feelings.
Oh, I'm sorry. You said.
There's a document. It's a piece of paper that informs how we're supposed to do all of our laws in this country.
Come on.
It's a nuance to that, but there's just one document.
Is it the Constitution?
Yes. So in our country, the Constitution is kind of like the foundation that informs all of our laws, and more than our laws, Malik, how we're supposed to behave and treat one another.
Right.
The Code of Hammurabi was this back in ancient Sumerian times. This is where, like, you know, you would find, like, you know, modern Iraq, for example. So this is it. This what you see on the screen, this, like, you know, black slab. This is actually part of the document where they began to write down, Latasha, the laws and how the laws and what would be your penalty if you violated some of those laws. This is really important. When you look at documents like the Code of Hammurabi, when you look at the Constitution, it speaks to, like, you know, it says a lot about your society. And as you talked about, Malik, the punishment for most of the violation of their laws was often I was going to say bordering on torture, but no, it was actual torture. Let's look at these a little bit more deeply. The time period here is during the Dark Ages. I'm not going to test you on years, Malik. I won't test you on years. But it is important that you understand how people saw the world during this time. So it's important, for example, to know that most people were illiterate. Most people were illiterate. I'll let you jot all this down very quickly, Savannah, and then I'll elaborate on these more in a moment. And as we go through this, if there's anything that's not clear, please let me know. And it's important to me that when we go through these notes, that it's clear to you what we're talking about. Malik, you seem to have a really good understanding of how these things are tying in together thus far. Make sure you stay on this track. This is going to be an expectation for all of us as we go forward as a group. And it's going to be some days where Malik is not going to be on his own point. He may have like a day where he's just not feeling as good like he was that day in preschool.
That was not me.
Who said like you wasn't the one that got the 3 beans?
That was Mr. Parks. No one me.
Oh, my bad. Oh, my bad. Okay, and Jarvis. My bad, and Jarvis. My bad.
No, but just a side note, like for the chapters, like I know they long, but what I did was, you know, on Cengage you can actually listen to the chapter and they'll read the whole thing to you. So that's how I read it. I was listening to it, so that's how I did it. I don't know if it'll help anybody else, but yeah, you can listen to it.
And that is an excellent idea, and I'm glad. And thank you so much for suggesting that, because there are a lot of features that y'all get on Cengage that I don't always see exposed to. I think I was aware of that one, but I'm glad that you brought that up because I mentioned that for my other classes as well. So yes, however you go about getting the information, but take advantage of that. That stuff is free. It's free for y'all. The university paid a nice amount of money for it, but it's so that you can take advantage of stuff like that. Do a little bit at a time, and once you engage the material, Latasia, I promise you, it's really easy to follow and understand. And where you may fall short, it is my job to help you here during lecture. And if this ain't enough, Savannah, please make sure that you reach out and schedule some office hours and we can talk this stuff through some more. And as a final point, like, you know, with Malik making that suggestion, I would also even recommend that y'all posse up sometimes and work as a clique and kind of help each other work through the material for this class and all classes. I know, Malik, that you have ambitions going on to graduate school. I hope that most of you all do. And I can assure you, Malik, that in graduate school, you're absolutely going to have to work with like other people to get through that process. But at least it makes it a lot easier. So the dark ages, right, were dark in that people just, they did not really value knowledge and information. There was, again, most people were illiterate, and since people, and this is important, Latasia, why like education and reading is so important, because when people were illiterate, they had to get their ideas pretty much from people in power. And the people in the most powerful institution at this time in Europe was the Catholic Church. So the Catholic Church is who decided what laws you should obey and how you should be punished for those laws. The era was again defined by a lot of plagues. So when we talk about, you know, COVID in our lifetime, there through almost every period of human history, Savannah, there's been some like really major disease. Most, quite frankly, many, quite frankly, have been far worse and more severe than the coronavirus, even as harsh as this was. So the bubonic plague, for example, hit Europe, and it took out huge amounts of their population. And during this time, Malik, like it was a real dirty place. So they learned later that like it spread through rats. They like, you know, was living in crowded, condensed places. Yeah. So the rats would be traveling amongst the people and would spread this disease very, very, very quickly. And it was a bad one. Much like, so in all those type of times, right, people kind of freak out and like sometimes believe some really crazy things. So like in our times this year, and we saw different, like during these times, all type of conspiracy theories pop up. People become very superstitious about stuff. And people begin to kind of treat each other in some very strange ways. And we see this through the form of punishment. Keep in mind what we just talked about, Savannah, that our laws, and again, like, look, when the Constitution, right, it is a beautiful document as written on paper. A great problem in our society is that there probably has not been a day, Latasia, where we have actually lived up to the principles in the Constitution. But if we could actually construct a society that actually works in a way that Thomas Jefferson and all them cats wrote it down, oh man, that would be really dope. Because these documents, Malik, they tell you a lot about who these people are. And that was true of some of the Roman Catholic laws as well. These are things where, so you talked about the torture and stuff. So if you committed crime, so we debated earlier, what we discussed earlier, whether or not Dylann Roof should get the death penalty or not. We talked about before that when you get pulled over for a moving violation, you could get a ticket, $150, $200. But that police officer could actually take you to prison. They were able to do that. And it would not be a violation of your constitutional rights. it'd be very abnormal, and the other police officers would probably be looking like, dude, what are you doing? But the officer would be acting constitutionally. I say this, that what we're talking about now are sentences and sanctions. So, and Jarvis, I apologize, Malik, for ascribing that ass beating to you. I figure you was pretty well behaved. And Jarvis definitely does look like a 3-ass whooping type of cat. So that makes sense. Probably with some days growing up, they probably might have to get him 7, 8 times. Might have to been calling neighbors over, like, look, can you come over and beat my son's ass? I'm just messing with you and Jarvis. The good news is you seem to be a very well-adjusted young man who's reformed and has learned valuable lessons from those whoopings that you get. I used to catch some too, man, so I'm right there with you. But are there like times like, corporal punishment can be very controversial, whether or not you should put hands on children. What are some things that you maybe think you should get a whooping for? That if you had children, put yourself in a parental role and say you got like a 6 or 7-year-old. What's something that they might do that you feel like would be justified in them getting a whooping? Maybe put yourself in the picture. Some of y'all may have got some whoopings when you were younger.
Stealing.
Go ahead, say again.
I say stealing.
Good.
And like doing like really like significant, like, I mean, we all probably like got in little fights when we was growing up, but like doing like, grabbing a bat and doing like real bodily harm to somebody.
Good.
And that's all I can think of right now.
Good. What if you was a little kid like me and my boy Roland, that's still my boy now, he's fighting Jamie, we're all cool like as adults, but Roland and Jamie was having a fight and it was kind of going through a draw. I handed Roland a bat, Malik, and told Roland, hey, use this. And he did. Should you get a whooping in? I'm just kidding, don't answer that. What are some other examples where you think maybe you should get a whooping? Anybody else? Well, maybe you should get a whooping.
Being disrespectful to the elders.
Okay, good. So if you pull in what I like to call an name Jarvis, are there things though that you think might be a little bit overboard where if you heard that like a 6 or 7-year-old was whooped for that you think, all right, that might be a little bit dramatic. That's a little bit much.
No, because as in younger like years, we're learning everything. So like if we learn that if we say this and do this and our parents let it slide, then we're gonna think it's normal for us to do it outside of the home. So
no question. That's not my question. What is a behavior, a deviant behavior that a child may be whooped for that if you heard they got a whooping for this, that you might think, okay, you went a little bit overboard with that one, Latasia.
Oh no.
The thing that I just don't agree with, I just can't stand it. If your child, like, if you trying to force your child to eat something, they know that they're not going to eat it. It don't matter what you do, they're not going to eat it. Why beat them for that?
Good. Other examples, like if they pee in the bed or something like that, you might be upset about it, but they're probably not trying to pee in the bed. Now you may still try and do something to change the behavior, but it's probably not something that you're gonna really whoop them for. And yes, I agree with the food. Like my daddy made me actually get some food out the garbage can one time, but he did not give me a whooping for it. I think I actually might have wanted to whoop it, but that's neither here nor there. So I ask these examples right there. So let me ask you this. If a child was given a whooping for, again, children are going to misbehave. If they're given a whooping for everything, how do you think that's going to impact the child later on in terms of their behavior? As Malik talked about before, the purpose of punishment is to get them to change their behavior. But what if they get a whooping for everything that they do? How do you think that might impact their behavior? No wrong answers here, but what do you think? Go ahead,
You go ahead.
Ladies first.
Okay. Me personally, I feel like if a child get beat for every single thing later on in life, that affects their relationship with, it could be personal, like friendship wise, like they're just gonna end up becoming abusive in a sense, kind of. Yeah. And start taking it, they just come angry.
Good. And what about the behaviors?
They'll be very like quiet. They won't really communicate that much with others in a sense.
Okay, good. Malik, other thoughts or anybody?
I mean, you might be raising another Dylan Roof. You just never know.
Good. Do you think it's gonna stop the kids from being bad?
No.
No, they gonna act worse.
Excellent, Latasia. That usually the more severe punishment is probably going to lead to them eventually actually exhibiting worse behaviors, whether it be a Dylan Roof, like you said, or being kind of withdrawn from people, as you had spoke to, Savannah. So I ask this, like, this is an important consideration that there are times where you may need to punish people. You may need to punish people for stealing. But if we're going to punish people for stealing medicine for their diabetes in the same way that we might punish somebody for taking like 20 million out of a bunch of old people's pensions, we might really want to give that some thought. But in Roman times, Latasia, they didn't give that a lot of thought. They punished everybody very harshly for almost anything. Some of these punishments included the ordeal of hot water. Y'all haven't seen enough old movies and stuff like that where Latasia, they're like, okay, Latasia was cheating on this test. We're going to take a pot of hot water. We're going to pour it over the top of her. That'll teach her not to cheat. You may see an illustration here, right? This is drawing and quartering somebody. What drawing and quartering involve, Savannah, is that they would take the guilty party or the allegedly guilty party, and they would tie a horse to one arm, another horse to another arm, another horse to another rope to a leg, another horse will be tied to another leg, and then they would shoot off a gun. And what would the horses do once the gun got shut off?
Take off.
They would run. And all your body parts would go every which way that they ran, Savannah. Horsepower is really real, so that's a lot of power there, right? Like that ain't just that, like that's not coming, like they didn't make that up for cars. Like horses are really powerful. So yeah, these bad boys running at full strength, gonna take a full step, and your arm is coming right out your socket, Malik. This is how they punish people. Other times they might boil you. They might burn you at the stake. If you stole something, they might decapitate you. They may cut off an arm or something. All together, Malik, they had over 300 methods of execution. They sat around and thought about 300 different ways that they could kill people. Roman Catholics. Sometimes they might not kill you. They might just do something simple, like they might put you in a bridle. This is what you see here, Savannah. This is a bridle. Can't talk, can't speak. They might put you in a ducking stool. That's kind of like almost like where you see like those little where you might take a girl on a date trying to win a prize, and you gotta throw a ball and knock somebody off a pin and put them into some water. So it might be something like that. They might brand you, and not like a Q dog or nothing like that. So these are all punishments that they will get for committing various crimes. And I ain't talking about like, okay, you murdered somebody. You cheated on your husband. You prayed to the wrong God. You were caught reading. You went around saying something like, the earth revolves around the sun. So these are things that you can get the most severe punishments for. As we got into the Enlightenment and we emerged out of the dark, again, look at the language itself, Latasia. The Dark Ages, the Enlightenment.
Is the next slide gonna talk about those two people during that time?
Which two people?
Dang. I want to say Charles and
Darwin.
Caesar, I think.
Oh, Beccaria. We will talk about that. Yeah, so Caesar Beccaria. And I imagine you're talking about Charles Darwin.
No, it was not Charles Darwin.
Okay, then who?
It was Charles. I don't know. Maybe it was Charles. I don't know. I just know, like in the thing, I was talking about how one of them said that that punishment usually is like really brutal, So like they was like, you know, during that time they were making like a move. They just started like a little whatever to change that, and then after that, the other one came along and he was like, it should be even more simpler than that, you know.
Absolutely,
Then,
yes. We're gonna talk
yeah.
more about. We're gonna talk about more of those ideas more than the individuals. We'll talk about them a little bit, but I'm not gonna test you on names at all. But those are definitely and most of y'all hopefully have heard of these gentlemen in other classes as well, because Bakari in particular is in many ways considered to be like the father of modern criminal justice. So we're definitely going to talk about some of his ideas as we get into the 20th century, but we're not quite there yet. At this period, we're probably still like we're in the 1400s, and this is where human beings believe that we can use. Because again, right, in the Dark Ages, they used superstition and things like that to make sense of the world. This is where they would say things like, it's the reason why this ship got lost at sea is that Poseidon was underneath the water and he did certain things. And he like, you know, was messing up the ship like, hey, get up out of there. And that's why this ship capsized. The reason why we saw this horrible hurricane is because Poseidon is in there making mischief. The reason why these wars are coming about is that Zeus is has decreed that these two nations are supposed to go to war. You fell in love because Cupid shot you with an arrow. These are the ways that people will make sense of their world. The Enlightenment, Latasia, and it's an important concept no matter your discipline, and certainly no matter your major in social sciences. The Enlightenment is where people begin to use rationality and objective science. Objective science, speaks to Malik, is that you and I could observe and make rational sense and explain why something happens. So life expectancy of Black people is not because God wants us to live a shorter life. Maybe God does. I don't know that. What I do know for sure is that there are many social factors such as diet, income, occupation, access to healthcare, stress, that impact our life expectancy a great deal and would impact the life expectancy of any people, Black, white, or green, if they were exposed to similar conditions. We can explain that rationally and scientifically with facts. This is a very new concept. For most of human history, Savannah, we believe things like that, you know, that men are better at math than women because God said so. As opposed to like, hey, you know what we could do? Let's have Savannah and Malik study and have them do this math test and see who performs better. And probably whoever puts in the most time is going to do better. And them being born a boy or girl has absolutely nothing to do with how they perform in the math test. It may have an impact on certain things, but not how they could perform in math. But for most of human history, Malik, we have made sense of the world in ways like that. And why? Because authority figures said so. Who are the authority figures then? Who were the authority figures back during the Dark Ages?
The people in the church.
Say it again.
The people in the church.
Good. So the people that ran the Catholic Church, and we're talking about here in Europe now. If you go to the Middle East, it'll be the people that ran Islam. If you go to like Jewish cultures, it would be the people that ran the synagogue. So the religious leaders had a lot of power in many ways, Malik, because they were the only people that could read. And since I can read and you cannot, I could tell you anything, right? And you just be following my rules because I say so. That's again why I stress, do your own research. It ain't just a cliche. Don't just be like, again, if you're a criminal justice, if you're going into criminal justice and you actually are not taking time to read the Constitution, like really? Like it could be some things in there, like, and again, just because I'm telling you something is in your Bible or Quran, don't just be taking my word for it. Go find it for yourself. These were the ideas that were at the heart of the Enlightenment, that You ain't just got to be taking my word because I'm the so-called authority figure. Oh, I'm the professor. I'm a PhD. So you have to take my word. No, y'all smart too. Now, we do respect the expertise of certain people. So when I go get my car service and stuff, Savannah, I understand that that person has a lot more expertise than me, and I want to listen carefully to what they are going to say. But you know what I can also do, Latasia? Before I go to the mechanic, I can do some research on cars, and I can at least learn a little bit of something where they don't just, because otherwise they could potentially take advantage of me, Malik, and tell me to get some things fixed on my car that I don't necessarily need. So in this way, right, having information, this ain't not just something that's important for us to learn and understand as an academic exercise. The Enlightenment was really important because it allowed people to have a lot more say-so in their own lives and how the societies were governed. So one of the, as we get ready to close for the day, and I appreciate your participation. Again, keep in mind as we go forward that everybody will be expected to be on camera throughout class, as you all have been today. You'll still get, I'm not going to mark you absent, but you won't get your full points if you're not on camera. So keep that in mind as we go forward. So one of the byproducts, Malik, of the Enlightenment and people really beginning to think about, here's one word I want you to write down.
People started, oh, go ahead.
When we think about the Enlightenment, there was one word that really came to mind more than any other. Why? Question mark. Previous to this, in many ways, Latasia, people just, again, if the person authority, if my mama told me it was true, then it must be true. With the Enlightenment, people really began to ask in many important ways, sometimes for the first time, why? Why is this happening? Why do we do this? There are certain traditions that we may want to keep up with, but we need to explore why. We don't want to just be doing things just because we're doing them. So I'll leave you with this example before we go. That I'm sure you have seen, like, at outdoor functions, perhaps at your own homes, that where your family may be entertaining at night, they may put out a bug light. And you'll see bug after bug after bug fly into this light to their certain death. And one of the things that's always is wondering to me is, if I'm a bug and I didn't see over the last hour, like 500 of my closest friends have gone into this light and died. I'm like, man, dude, what? I'm not gonna go into that light. What is these fools doing? Jerome, stop, dog. What is you on? What? Oh, Malik. Oh. Savannah, I told you not to fly over there. What is you on? Oh, man. But Latasia, these flies, they don't have rational thought. They can't see. They can't reason the way we can. Human beings, we can use our rational brain. So we can make a connection between events. So Latasia, that way you can see, again, the term, right? You can see your older sibling catch a whooping. And you ain't got to take that whooping. You can see this person, like, look, you see every day when you drive this way, Savannah, the police is getting somebody. I know we all got some roads like that, right? How's you get a ticket, Latasia? You drive this way every day. It be spots when I'll be coming to Allen where I know, like, okay, look, slow down right here, dog, because they be waiting. So in this way, right, this is us using our rational brain. We begin to use the criminal justice system this way, as opposed to, it's not rational, Latasia, to just every time your child does something, you're going to whoop them. That's not rational. Like, again, if your goal is to just express anger, I guess, but if you're really trying to change your behavior, punishing everybody the same is probably not going to be effective. You know what that might accomplish, Malik? That, let's look at it this way, and I'm going to begin with this on Wednesday. Make sure you keep reading with me. That if you know, like one time in high school, my parents had went out of town. I was not even supposed to be there to say anything of having company. But I knew that once, I had company, if I had one person over, or if I had 300 people over, I was going to have a pretty severe punishment. In that case, what y'all think I did?
Still did it anyway.
Say it again.
I said you still did it anyway.
No, but I'm saying, how many people do you think I had over?
Probably like 2.
If it's 2 people over, my parents are gonna punish me. If I have 300 people over, they're gonna punish me. So how many
Yeah.
should I have?
The bare
My-
minimum.
100.
Say it again, Savannah.
I said none.
You said none.
You should be none if you're gonna get in trouble.
No, but I know I'm getting in trouble regardless.
You might as well go ahead and have as
okay.
many people you can. So 300.
One extra credit point. One extra credit point limitation. If you're gonna go to jail for robbery, or if you're gonna get your arm chopped off for robbery, whether you steal a loaf of bread or whether you steal $5 million, you feel like you gotta steal something, right? Because you're starving. Which one you finna do? You might as well go for it all.
Might as well go for the 500.
Right. Because it's not rational. That's why you get the one extra credit point limitation. Because it ain't rational to be doing those small crimes. You finna get 10 to 15 years for like holding up a liquor store, dog? Oh my.
Might as well go out with a bang.
If you're gonna go, you gotta go. Like, so in that way, right, what this type of system produced, and I appreciate y'all sticking with me, it makes it where, look, if I could get subjected to this kind of stuff anyway, if I'm gonna commit a crime, I'm gonna make sure it counts. So you actually produce way worse criminals. So over time, it got to a point where it's like, okay, look, we cannot punish everybody for the same amount of crime if our goal is to actually stop people from committing crime. I will begin with this concept on Wednesday. Keep in mind, this will be posted for you on YouTube. I'm sorry, say it again. And I went a little bit over time, so one extra credit point for the 3 of you. I'll see y'all on Wednesday.